Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital. But before I begin, be sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. The dust flies from the back of Carl Miller's silver pickup as he races to deliver his precious cargo. What is in the back of Carl's car? We'll learn more at the end of this video. But first, if you plan to develop property in Florida, watch out for scrub jays. And in today's video, we have the top things you should know. Number 1. What is the Florida scrub jay? The Florida scrub jay is a round-headed blue and gray bird that lives exclusively in the state of Florida. It occurs in patches of low-growing scrub oak in sandy soils and is on the endangered species list. Scrub jay numbers are very low, and in fact the population has continued to decline even after its listing. Number 2. How do Florida scrub jay habitats impact landowners? Well, all Florida land in scrubby areas must be surveyed for jays before the land can be altered. If scrub jays aren't present, then development can continue as usual. But if they are, the federal government requires an incidental take permit before you can impact a habitat. Number 3. What is an incidental take permit and how can you get it? An incidental take permit is issued by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. It is sought when a non-federal entity believes that their activities may impact an endangered or threatened species. To get an incidental take permit, first have a qualified biologist conduct a survey of your land during the nesting season. This is between March to October. Then submit the survey to your local U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service office. If the survey indicates that there are jays or jay habitat on your land, you will likely need to create a habitat conservation plan. This plan will describe your proposed construction activity, its impacts on the jays, and how you plan to mitigate or minimize those impacts. If the Fish and Wildlife Service finds that your plan meets their criteria, then you may be allowed to proceed with your construction activities. And number 4, what can you do to help the Florida scrub jay? As we said, even though the Florida scrub jay is listed as an endangered species, it is still in decline. But there are some things that you can do to help. If you are a property owner in a place where jays live, you can plant scrub, keep your vegetation at a maximum height of 10 feet, keep pets away from any jays, restrict pesticide use on your land, and support the establishment of Florida scrub jay preserves. So that covers the basics of the Florida scrub jay and how they impact you. But now, let's return to Carl Miller. On that day in southern Florida's balmy winter, Carl was driving down the dirt trails of the Jonathan Dickinson State Park. He was there to deliver one carrier with a bonded pair of wild scrub jays collected from the Osceola National Forest, 4 hours north. Now, let me pause a moment and say, if you've been wondering, is it really necessary to place restrictions on development to save this bird? Here's the answer. Though pockets of protected land do exist to provide shelter for scrub jays, development around the state has fragmented the bird's remaining habitat into smaller and more isolated pieces. Unlike other birds, scrub jays do not travel more than 5 miles from home, so the populations in each of these small islands have become more and more genetically isolated. As a population's gene pool dwindles, it faces the same problems as all inbred creatures: higher rates of disease and death. However, one scientist has a rescue plan. Sarah Fitzpatrick was born to work with scrub jays. Her father, the director of the Archbold Biological Station, spent his career monitoring the jay, and it was he who chronicled their decline. Sarah, who later grew up to become a biologist herself, has conducted research to prove the efficacy of a technique called genetic rescue. Genetic rescue is a simple concept. Introduce a few members of a species native to a different location to a population in free fall. These new introductions can breed with the native population, but have enough innate differences to provide new blood and genetic diversity. Sarah showed that genetic rescue, when performed on isolated populations of Trinidadian guppies, did not result in the loss of the original population's unique characteristics. And if it can work for guppies, she thought, why not scrub jays? This was why Carl Miller, a biologist at the Osceola National Forest was racing down south to transport a hand-selected scrub jay breeding pair from his forest's healthy population. The hope is that this pair will produce offspring that will mate with the native population of the Jonathan Dickerson Forest and provide a much-needed boost of fresh DNA. And with fewer than 25 families in the forest left, this could be the bird's only chance to survive in the region. So when Carl opened the carrier and his birds took flight, he and Sarah felt a flutter of cautious optimism. Now, genetic rescue is not a full-scale solution. The underlying causes of inbreeding still need to be addressed. Otherwise, the population will be back in the same place years later. And this is why regulations that protect and expand the jay's habitat are so important. But for now, there is reason to celebrate. Carl's transplanted pair did survive their first year, although the eggs they laid in the following summer disappeared. Still, there is always the next year, and Carl and Sarah are hopeful that the birds will find a way to build a family in the dry, sandy scrub of their new home. But what do you think? Do you have any stories about Florida scrub jays? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down listings at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.